quarantine, and today we're gonna be talking about Uppity, Uppity, the Willy T Ribs story. Say that 10 times.
Couldn't.
The Willy T Ribs, Willy T. No, I'm just playing. Um, but overall, Sunday. So, what do you think about this? What do you think about this documentary?
Um, it was a really good documentary. I've never heard of Willy T. Ribs. I'm not somebody who like enjoys racing, like car racing or whatever. Uh, and that's probably for like a number of reasons. But um, when I started listening to the story, it was actually it was cool seeing like this black guy within like this super predominantly white sport, like
Yeah,
dominating and not only dominating but being cocky and kind of arrogant and just confident with how he carried himself in the sport. He wanted all the hate. It fueled him. So it was dope seeing that. I feel like seeing more stuff like that will probably bring more black people into that sport.
yeah, absolutely. And that kind of brings up this question: do you think that's why that story isn't as prominent as your Martin Luther King's, Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali's, in terms of athletes, because they don't want that sport to be dominated by the other race? Because if you think about it, you got the Mike Tysons, you got the Michael Jordans, you got the Tiger Woods, you got the Ken Griffey. Like we dominate in every sport.
Right, right.
We've dominated in every sport, but we've never heard about the domination of Willie T. Ribs. It's not like a story that a lot of us are we know about. But do you think there's a particular reason for that? You think there's a reason why they don't even want to put that out?
Um, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's like a number of reasons. Like for one, to like they were speaking. Oh, my brother's about to join. Hold on. But yeah, for one, when they were speaking about the like just getting into the sport, it's very expensive. Like
Right.
um, like you need sponsors to be successful in that sport. So like obviously, as we all know, like black people in this country were like very socioeconomically disadvantaged. So like we don't have access. Like it kind of reminds me of gymnastics, like how a lot of black people, like if you just see like a lot of us are doing like flips. Like we could be very successful in gymnastics, but it's just a very like class based sport where like you just don't have the access to it. And I feel like yeah, if we had the access to it, we'd probably be more interested. It'd probably dominate in it. But um, I don't. I mean, it probably maybe it's like I feel like it's intentional, but also like not intentional. If you know what I mean?
You think I think there's like barriers to entry. Like, for example, you mentioned the funding, or you have to be part of like this prestigious class. Well, not even prestigious, because I don't think there's anything prestigious about NASCAR. But the fact is, there's a lot of money put behind it. Like in the documentary, it mentioned how you have to buy tires, several different sets of engines, and like all the equipment plus the car itself. Like it costs so much to even have a race team, you know,
Right.
and that's what kind of limited your boy Willie T. Ribs. But he knew what he wanted to do. So I got a question. This is a specific question for you. If you could go back and take all the money you invested into college and reinvest it into something else that applies to you, what would it be?
Like anything.
Anything.
Um, all the money, cause like shoot, that's like almost 100,000.
Come on, man.
And reinvest it. I probably reinvest into like some form of media with storytelling. like focus on storytelling. Um, and probably it probably like I don't know. I like comic books and like cartoons and stuff. So like maybe something like revolving around that, like my own studio, and I would like center like black voices and whatnot.
And that's something that you truly love. And I think like kind of like what Willie T did. He didn't go to college, but he took his bread and he invested it into racing, his passion, his first love. And it kind of made me think like, dang, I don't know if a lot of us would even take that kind of chance on ourselves. You know,
Yeah, it's and especially like if you consider when he did it, like he did it like during like Jim Crow,
right,
or maybe a little bit after Jim Crow, but like
right,
he
right,
still did it like in a time where he shouldn't have been doing it technically.
right. And it's interesting. I mean, he came from the West Coast. So when he was introduced to like how, the Confederacy, the Confederate South, when he came to kind of see the aftermath of the Jim Crow, and we were supposedly integrated, but obviously not. There's still
Yeah.
some backlash um, from the Jim Crow era. So when you see this man go in, invest all he has into a sport where he is pretty much set up to fail, and like throughout the whole story, you see how they continuously sabotage him, but he put all his ducats into it. And I almost want to ask this too. Do you think that's the reason why his grandfather thought that racing was not for him and that he should take over the family business?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm sure like his grandfather probably just wanted to protect him, like especially like how his grandfather probably grew up. He's like, I don't want to subject you to this racism, this pain, this hurt, these trials and tribulations you're gonna have to experience. Here's something much safer that you can do. Um, that will save you the pain. And that's
I know.
another.
Yeah, go
My,
ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say that's another thing. Like I really admired like about him was like the the confidence to like not only pursue all that in that era, but like to do it like unapologetic and be himself. Like that's like powerful.
Hey man, he brought the Muhammad Ali attitude to race cars. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? He wasn't like, oh, shy black racer. He's like, man, I'm the best. And it's crazy how he dominated for so long, and that story is just almost, it seems like lost in the shuffle. When we talk about Black history, we don't really. I mean, this before watching this a documentary, I didn't know anything about Willie T. Ribs, and maybe that's me not paying attention in class or something. But I mean,
nah,
We have Black History Month every year, right? And I
they
ain't
they 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 show the same black people every year too. Like there's no
right,
variety, and then it's only one month a year.
right. It's almost like oh, this is what y'all did at one point in time, but y'all not really. It was like not giving us credit, not giving us our full credit because you first of all you didn't tell us our complete history, and then
Right.
second, you're not telling us about the history we're making as time goes on. Outside of a couple of notable media figures and sports figures, they don't tell us everybody that is really influencing Black culture and Black history. I think the Willie T. Rib story is really special. Um, so I had another question for you. You said you would invest into a comic book store, into like not comic book store, but like media or a comic studio, right?
Yeah, like some kind of like studio just like focused on producing like uh black stories, whether that be like fictional stories, non-fictional, just like just yeah, promoting black stories and whatnot.
Okay. So in the case of Willie, we've seen that his family was a big part of his success, was a big part of his foundation, and I think that built up a lot of his resiliency. Would you go after your dreams or take over the family business, a successful family business, if it was presented to you?
Uh, I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I don't know if I got the confidence of Willie T. Ribs.
I'm
uh,
telling you, that just goes to show you how that man was a different breed. I mean,
yeah. Yeah. It depends. I feel like I would still have my dreams in the back of my mind, but at the moment, I would probably take over family business until it's like more safe for me to pursue my dreams.
yeah. But I think it was also like a safety net. He always knew that was there. There's a few times, for example, when he was in Europe and he couldn't get the United States to sponsor him for a Formula One race. He came
Right.
back home and had to work, the family business, which goes to show you because the Europeans were willing to sponsor Willie, were willing to work with Willie, but the United States was not willing to sponsor their own talent because of the color of his skin.
Yeah, and I was gonna ask you what like why do you think that is? Because it's not like Europe isn't racist. Like it's not like they're not like they're definitely racist over there. So like
Right.
what how like why would they make that distinction and not the United States?
I think, I mean, even in the book that we read prior, the Strange Career of Jim Crow, they talked about how Europeans, although they had some prejudices, but black people were more respected there. But even in this documentary, they said like when he came up to the guy, I don't remember his name per se, but the one that was in charge of bringing the Formula One racing as like a international sport in the 70s. Um, he mentioned like when Willie T came up to him, he thought he was asking for a job to work on his farm, and it's
Mm,
like that right there off the bat, that's like profiling. You know what I
right,
mean?
right,
You're like,
right,
oh nah, you ain't here to race no cars. What are you talking about? You're black.
right.
But I think the United States carries a heavier stigma of discrimination because it's such a big part of our history. And I think they just didn't want a black person representing them. And that's, you know what I mean? To any, it just, I don't think they, and this is just speculation. This isn't, no, there's no facts behind this at all. But I do believe that the United States didn't want Willie T to represent them. They were not sponsoring him. And even when he was back here, um, when he wanted to go, race in the Indy 500, which is one of the biggest races in NASCAR, he had very little funding, very little backing, and this is after having a reputable and successful career. They did whatever they could to sabotage him.
Yeah.
But I don't know, but I can't call it, man. I can't call it why the United States
I
did that.
mean, I think you were kind of spot on. Like yeah, like slavery and like the inception of the United States are kind of you really can't really separate them. Like they kind of just go hand in hand. Like racism in the United States, like they kind of came together at the same time. So like it's such a big part of the history of this country. It makes sense why that is.
Yeah, and that's a shame though because there's such a there's a huge time frame where um, racism and slavery was a predominant part of the culture, and
Hmm.
we haven't reconciled those differences. Things like this happen, right? And we see the difference between, like, we see it, like, man, look how long it's been, and we didn't know about Willie T. Ribs. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like, when you hear about NASCAR, I mean, for the people that, if you even know an inkling about it, you'll hear words like Dale Earnhardt Jr.,
Yeah.
you'll hear Tony Stewart,
Yep.
Jeff Gordon.
I know that
But
name.
how come we ain't never heard of Willie T. Ribs? And he looked like me and you know what I mean? And it's not like he was a black man and he was a scrub. Like he won races. Like he was, and it kind of correlates with what's going on today. And I know there's a lot of current news, some news that's more disheartening, like the verdict to the cases of those that were involved with the murder of Breonna Taylor.
Right.
But then if you hear about the deal that just happened in NASCAR, I think it's Danny Hamlin and Michael Jordan. have teamed up to start a team to support another black racer, which is Bubba Wallace,
Yeah,
to
I was
create a NASCAR team.
gonna comment on that because uh, I think maybe I'm getting it confused with baseball, but like from what I've seen on social media, and I know this is all kind of performative as well, but like the NASCAR racers have been pretty like they've been in like solidarity for like Black Lives Matter. From what I've seen, um, like I said, maybe I could be getting it confused with baseball, the baseball community. But like you said, they were supporting Bubba Wallace, and they seem overall pretty supportive. I was kind of surprised about that because it's so predominantly white.
Yeah, I mean, it is predominantly white, and it's a sport, and I'm not 100% sure how where NASCAR stands with the Black Lives Matter movement. Um, I'm not really aware on that, but it's interesting because living here in the South, especially in Charlotte, where NASCAR is such a big part of the culture, like they have the I think Hall of Fame Museum in Uptown, and yeah, it's huge here in Concord. They got a big speedway, and I can't help but notice like it's a big part of the Southern culture,
Hmm.
and so to hear that they're standing with them, I know that's not 100% all across the board, because I mean, when you think of
Yeah,
when you think of NASCAR, man, what do you think of, bro? I think of
yeah, it's not positive.
it's not positive, man. I think of Confederate flags. I mean, I'm gonna be really, really blunt. I think of Confederate flags, heavy Southern accents, moonshine. These are all profiles, and I'm definitely,
Yeah.
stereotyping all of them. But I just don't see a lot of us. And, when I hear like, greats like Michael Jordan, he's a big name in black culture.
Hmm.
Bubba Wallace. I don't think we know much about him. I don't know if that's the same NASCAR driver that was in the news that they had put a noose on his garage. Do you remember that?
I think it is.
Right. And to see him teaming up with Michael Jordan, same way that Bill Cosby endorsed Willy T. Ribs,
Hmm.
and Don King. It's just so interesting. Like he was involved with Bill Cosby, Muhammad Ali, and Don King, people that are very well known in the black culture.
He was
Yet,
that dude, and
that's what I'm
we just forgot. Like it's
I
like
don't know.
history doesn't talk about him.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me at all. But I think it was definitely a great story. It gave me a lot of insight into NASCAR. I don't know if I'm going to watch NASCAR now, but I'm definitely going to be following the Bubba Wallace team just to see what comes of that. Because that's history in the making right now. You
Yeah.
know, that's a protest within itself. Michael Jordan. He doesn't always get a lot of credit um, for supporting the black community. People always kind of consider him a sellout. You
Yeah,
know,
he be doing sellout stuff sometimes.
right? But I don't know. What do you think about this endorsement? Do you think that's like going the right direction, or do you think that's just more of him tying in with his? I mean, remember he is from the South. He's from Wilmington, North Carolina. So,
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I don't know how I feel about Michael Jordan. Um,
uh
like I remember the Last Dance documentary. He was talking about like he think Republicans buy sneakers too.
oh, you
Like,
talking about? Oh, right, right. You talking about Henry Gant? How he didn't support?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I don't know. And then I don't know. I feel like part of me feels like it's just like good optics for him. Just like supporting somebody and then plays. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But he got to be more consistent for me.
Yeah, a lot of people criticize him because he supports so many prisons, and they say that he invests into prisons that are incarcerating black people,
Hmm.
and they just he doesn't respond in times of crisis, or doesn't he's not a voice for the
Right.
Black Lives Matter movement or anything about black culture. But I mean, just like he said in Last Dance, you know what he said? The man, he said, "I'm not a politician. People pay me to play sports, to play basketball."
Right. And I feel that. I feel that. It's just like, man, you got like it's like your identity is like we're like regardless, your identity is tied to these movements. So like I feel like you should have some stake in the game, despite how much money you making. Like, you don't even gotta say anything politically, but like, you know, and maybe he's doing stuff like behind the scenes that we just don't know about. I don't know. But I don't know. You could just be better, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
I mean, I don't know how much you are into like new music, but Nas came out with a new album, and there's a song on there where he talks about that, where he says Michael Jordan and LeBron, the things that they do for the community isn't always publicized, isn't always said. It's called 10 Points, and it's from the latest album, King's Disease. I'm over here doing like endorsements for Nas, but I'm not. But I'm I'm not. I'm just saying though. But in the song, it mentions that it even meant like he quotes Michael Jordan. He's like, Michael Jordan does a lot for the community, but people would never know because it's not in the public eye. So I think it's
I
hard to be
listened to part of,
critical. You said what?
I listened to part of that album. I didn't hear that line though.
Yeah, yeah. 10 point. Yeah, it's like Michael Jordan and LeBron. They do certain things. I mean, I don't know it line for line, but it's part of the course that he mentions that. And I think sometimes we criticize celebrities, but we wouldn't know what they're doing all the time or like what they're contributing to. I mean, I think a lot of times we just want to see them riot and picket fence alongside with us. But I think because of their influence and because of how money moves, they don't need to do that.
But
I think
uh, I don't even want to say that. Like me, I love basketball. Like the playoffs have been amazing for me.
what
But man, I would be so proud of the NBA players if they just like, especially like after the verdict for this Breonna Taylor thing, like if they just be like, all right, yeah, we're done. We're gonna like even though I would love to see the rest of the playoffs, I feel like that would be such like a symbolic, and it would affect like the owners too. I feel like it would just be like a great thing to do.
I think in sports culture, and I'm glad you mentioned this. I think in sports culture, we see the we see how hard it is for them. I feel like they're in a between a hard and a rock place, right? So I was listening to the Miami Heat is my favorite team, and there was a article that kind of highlighted a quote from Udonis Haslam, and Udonis Haslam has been playing forever.
Right, right,
He's the vet, the great wise uncle on the team, and he was saying that for veterans like myself and other people that have accumulated so much wealth over their career, yeah, they could just boycott the NBA and say they don't want to play. But what about these young guys that this is their first season or their second, third season, and they haven't made a name for themselves yet? What do we say about them? And I think about it, it's like at that time, what matters more? And this hits me hard too, is does your career matter more or does the sport, the entertainment, or no, does your career matter more, which is the sport, the entertainment, or
uh-huh.
does justice matter more? And I think that's the conflict we see right now in sports entertainment and black injustice is even though after this verdict, I mean, especially after Jacob Blake was shot 7 times, right?
Hmm.
And then the Milwaukee Bucks had canceled, said they weren't going to play the following day, right?
Hmm.
And then we thought, okay, the players are going to be on strike indefinitely now, right? This is the last straw. What
Right.
happens? Next game, everybody back to playing again because at the end of the day, they're like, it's you know what I mean? This
No, I feel you. I mean, but even like with what you just said, it's like, okay, then all the veterans just take off or whatever. I don't know. I feel like, I don't know.
are we
I
going to
feel
watch the Lakers if AD and LeBron don't play, and we're stuck watching
exactly,
their
exactly though. You're not gonna like if AD and LeBron don't play, like, okay, yeah, maybe all the rookies and whatnot are playing still, but like nobody's gonna watch that. And you get like these big name players to make that sacrifice. Like they have pull. LeBron has pull. he can, if he says he's not playing, I feel like that could definitely tug at the owner's pockets, and through that, maybe like because the owners are these billionaires who probably have say on like their lobbying or whatever. Like they probably have say on policies and whatever. They could influence whatever they have influence. They could do stuff. So like
Yeah,
I feel like if LeBron and these other players like if they say they're not playing or they're boycotting, that could definitely have an impact on um, it could definitely have like a material impact on what's going on.
yeah, but then I think what we don't consider too, and I'm just gonna play devil's advocate is
Now go ahead.
what does that do then to the athlete, right? So LeBron James is pretty much the face of the NBA, the face of Nike, and has Sprite endorsements. I mean, I don't know what else he got endorsements with, but he is a like this man is he's what Michael Jordan was in the 90s, right? So
Yeah,
times, I mean, to me, I feel like he surpassed Michael Jordan, but nobody wants to admit it yet.
yeah, no,
Uh,
he's on that level for me.
Come on, man. Come on. Somebody stop giving this man,
Give
give him
him,
the GOAT status already.
give him his flowers.
Come on. That gonna wait. All right. Let me not even say because
Let's,
2020 disrespectful. 20, 2020 would be like, y'all say LeBron? Oh,
right.
oh,
let's,
y'all want me?
let's chill.
What? Yeah, I don't. Yeah, don't be saying no names because 2020 don't got respect for nobody. But what I'm saying is that um, like what about him? What's at stake for him? Does he lose his contract? He probably doesn't lose his contract with the Lakers, but what if he loses endorsements with Nike, which would be kind of hypocritical because Nike was behind the whole Colin Kaepernick movement. They endorsed that quick. But I think we live in a capitalistic society, man. These companies, these teams, these all that, they're gonna find ways to capitalize, even on the Black Lives Matter movement. You know what I
Of
mean?
course. Yeah.
So, and it's kind of sickening because these athletes are stuck in between their passion, but there's a passion for two things: justice and their livelihoods. And basketball is their livelihoods. That's what they work their whole lives for. And now you're asking them to boycott and to protest playing in the league that they work so hard for. You know, because somebody that they don't know at all, but that looks just like them, got shot and murdered. They can easily just say, you know what, I'm playing in honor of him. I'm playing to represent him. But does that have the same, you know what
That's
I mean? Are
all.
you willing to
That's
say
all.
what?
Just no. I was just saying that, and I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just saying that's all like kind of performative. Like, yeah, it's nice and all, but at the end of the day, nothing's happening.
Right. And I think it's a double-edged sword. I mean, like when you see guys that go against the grain, like Willy T, during an era where black people weren't accepted in something, and now you see athletes who are playing their sport in an era where they're not valued the same. Like we're not valued the same as everybody else. We can get shot in the back. We can get shot innocently in our own homes, and
Hmm.
justice will not be served. People won't serve time for what they did, and it it I don't know. It kind of makes us all wonder, because I mean I'm gonna give a real life example that just affected me not too long ago. Is the CEO to Wells Fargo, which is a company that I'm a consultant for. Um, the CEO said something about a limit of talent pool, like a limited black talent pool. So that
Right.
means like we don't have enough black people in higher levels because
Which is
there's
BS. But
which is
yeah,
a limit. And you
yeah.
know what? I gotta think about it like, do I quit my job right then and there because I hear that? Because that would be my boycott. That would be my protest, right? Or am I that black talent that's part of a team that now shows, oh, word, there's not talent in the industry? What now? Does that push me to go harder? And it's
I feel
I
you. I think that's kind of different and like just like in the scope. But I feel what you're saying um because like if you quit as like a protest, like you're not going to be really affecting Wells Fargo's bottom line at all.
absolutely not.
Even though the talent pool is limited, they could probably still find, or they don't even have to find another talented black individual. They could just find a white person and fill the spot with that. But no, I feel what you're saying overall. Like, it's definitely not like an easy choice. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna just decide to boycott and there'll be no repercussions for doing that. Um, like, obviously, like whatever you decide to do, there are going to be consequences. Um, I don't know. Oh, and another thing, did Willie T. Ribs, was he like an activist at all? With Malcolm X being, I mean, not Malcolm X, with Ali being his like role model.
It didn't mention that at all, and like I did some research on him. He wasn't necessarily an activist, but I think he took the role of an activist by even stepping field into a sport like that. You know what I mean? And he
Yeah.
wasn't
Kind of like Jack.
kind of like Jackie Robinson. Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
just like this man literally stepped into a place where you are not accepted. And because he opened up the doors for that, I mean, this kind of makes me want to do more research on seeing how many more black drivers have there been since then. Because and throughout the documentary, it showed like other areas where black people were on the raceway, but they never had the role of actually being in the car as a driver competing.
Hmm.
And seeing that, it's just like, okay, how has how has he pioneered the way and paved the way for other black athletes or other black drivers into NASCAR? But it didn't mention anything about him being an activist, but I think he is, man. It's kind of like they tried everything they could to get him out. They engineers messing up his engines,
That's
not
why
not giving him the best car. Like for
we have
example,
to fight.
you said what?
I said we'd have to fight if you're like intentionally sabotaging my engine.
Man, come on. But
I
you know
can,
what's crazy? What fueled him, with no pun intended there, is the fact that every time they came against him, he came 10 times stronger. Like, like he never like let race be the reason why he wasn't competing at a higher level. Even people on his own team tried to sabotage him.
hmm
He was on the team with that guy. His last name was Hobbs, and it kind of
They
reminded
tried to
me.
get him.
You said what?
I was saying they tried to get him to throw races too.
Throw races. You know what I mean? Like let white
Yeah.
man go first. Like let him. He comes in first place. But why though? I'm a better driver than him, and I can prove it.
Right.
And it kind of shows me like when they gave Willie T the messed up car on the team. Like they try to give him a disconfigured car. Uh, and he still was, right neck to neck with his Hobbs. It kind of reminded me of like the 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 head start that the white man has over the black man. It's like he
Hmm.
gets the more flashy, more eloquent, more, like, man, this car is decked out. And you get the little hoopty, but we in the same race. And I'm supposed to finish. I'm trying to finish first too, but it's hard because you got this head start ahead of me. And we're claiming to be on the same team. We're all equal, yes. Black Lives Matter, but really it ain't because you're equipped. Like you're equipped for this race, and you've left me unequipped intentionally so I can finish last.
And to add on to that analogy, it also kind of goes with like the belief in the black community where you, and even when they were saying the movie, you got to be twice as good to
Right.
be at the same level as them. So like you're given all these crappy resources and whatnot, and he's given like all this good stuff, and just to be at the same, like just to compete, you have to be like better than them.
Yeah, and I think that was a theme that they mentioned in the movie is like we have to do things 10 times better even to be mentioned amongst, to be among them. Even if we're in the same role, we have to be 10 times better. We have to be excellent. But what I've
Mhm.
noticed too, anywhere a black man is placed, he can be excellent. Black man or woman. I mean, I'm not saying specifically for men, but like in
Right.
this case, look at Willie T. He's in an area, man. He is in a sea of people that don't like him. You know what they called him? They called him the uppity nigger. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? But yet, he didn't let that penetrate his skin. He just kept on pushing, kept on like, striving towards excellence. And that just shows me no matter what environment we in, we're very resilient as people and we can thrive in any environment.
Yeah, it's also interesting to note how they called him uppity just because he was confident in himself.
Hmm.
Like a black man's not allowed to be confident without being uppity. Like how dare you, have self confidence in what you're doing and be good at it and back it up as well.
That's a
How dare you?
that's an interesting point you make because that is something very interesting. How because of his confidence, because of his swagger, and because of his like you got to think about his status. You got these big sponsors and endorsers. You got Budweiser behind you. Um, was it? I think Paul Newman or one of those other guys were like sponsoring this man, and they look at him like, who does he think he is among
Right,
us? Among us,
right,
the higher
right.
class people, and it's just like, dang, that's crazy. We choose to be in this.
And he was saying all throughout the documentary, y'all want to see me as a second class citizen, but nope, I'm not gonna act like that. I'm gonna be me.
Hey, I loved Willie T's attitude. He'll get on top of the car and then do the Muhammad Ali shuffle.
That was clean. That was clean.
Bro, he used to be flexing.
He did not care. He would, yeah,
Hey, bro, honestly, Willie T kind of gave me a little bit more confidence too, man. Like, there's no need for us to be shy, even if we're surrounded by people that don't look like us. We got to be ourselves, our true selves, and we got to wear it proudly, because if we turn our cheek, if we show, I mean, they say the meek and the humble shall inherit the earth. Yeah, it's cool. All right, to a degree though,
yeah,
to a degree, because I think we need to show more confidence and more swagger and believe in ourselves, man. I think what really inspired me the most in that movie, which I think we need to do more of, is other black people supporting black people. You know what I mean? Don King. He ringed up Don King. Don King's like, "What's up?" Muhammad Ali, "What's up?" Bill Cosby, "How much you need? 350? I got you." He put $350,000 in this man, and that's what we need to do. Like when you see a black man or a black woman believing in themselves, have a business, have a book, have whatever it may be, any kind of platform,
hmm
support them because we give them more power. We give them more power that way. Give them more influence because Willie T became a more significant name once his brothers and sisters started endorsing him, whether or not he was in an all white sport, you know?
facts, facts. Don King was like, I'm gonna make you a superstar. Uh, he did that. Ali was kind of like a mentor to him, just on how to navigate being so successful in like a predominantly white sport, and just it's and approaching it with a confidence too, because Ali was the most cocky uh, black athlete probably ever.
And I feel like that's who probably told Willie T, man, talk your stuff, man, cause you out here surrounded by white men. Like, show them who you are, and don't be afraid of it.
Right.
You know. Um, but I think today, like, Muhammad Ali was clearly an activist. Willie T probably wasn't directly, but indirectly, man, he was on some "I ain't getting out this seat" type of thing. You
For
know.
sure. For sure. He's basically like Jackie Robinson, but like kind of without the influence because he didn't bring in, or like we don't see like the same amount of black people going to NASCAR like Jackie Robinson did for
For
baseball.
baseball,
Like, but
right?
it's like the same idea.
Yeah, and I think honestly, people, I don't know. I just think we're probably more passionate about baseball than we are about NASCAR. It's not a big part of black culture at all.
But imagine if we had like cars like these kind of Formula One or not even maybe Formula One, but like however white people get into NASCAR. Like imagine if we had those resources. Like I feel like if I were younger, I would love to be driving around in a fast car and practicing going fast at but I just never had the opportunity. So
Absolutely. We don't have a rich uncle or a rich great grandfather that own a track, that own a farm, that, got that
right,
kind of money because I mean that's some different kind of bread, bro.
right. Like I don't even think it's like, oh, this is boring. Like because I think driving a fast car would be fun for some people. For a lot of
I
people, I
mean,
know it's not you, but uh, yeah, we just don't have the access to it. It sucks.
I've never been a huge fan of auto sports in terms of like going ridiculously fast to the point like if there's even like a pebble in the road, your car would disintegrate. You know what I mean?
I
Cause
feel you.
hey, listen, I feel like they were sabotaging that man to kill him, to crucify him, when they engineered that glass to
Hmm.
elevate the Indy, like on the Indy 500 race, to elevate the car so that way when he makes the turns, he will boom hit the wall on that one
Right.
turn. And that's the kind of stuff I'm like, man, hold up,
Nah.
I ain't going out like that. You know what I mean? Like, rest in peace to Paul Walker, but that's kind of the same stuff that happened to him. You know,
Hmm.
so it's like people who ride motorcycles. I'm like, okay, cool. Every day is like 10 times riskier for you to ride that thing because there's more likely you're gonna die. You
Facts,
know,
facts.
I'm all about preserving life, bro. So I ain't really trying to get on no
I feel
track.
you. I'm just saying, I think a lot of people would enjoy that.
No, absolutely, man. I think there's a lot of people out there that's probably passionate about racing,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
think the resources in our community don't really supplement that kind of. Just like golfing, man. I know there's a lot of black people that enjoy golfing, but who can really golf, man? That's one of the most expensive hobbies ever.
Hmm.
You know what I
Facts.
mean? So, um, yeah, it just seems like as black people, we can dominate or enter anything. We can dabble into anything, man. Like even bull riding, I'm pretty sure we dominated in that too. I'm sure there's some kind of there's a
Everything, man. Tennis, all of
tennis.
it.
Oh, come on, stop that.
But
You
that's
already know.
that's another sport that's like very classes where like you gotta have the resources to go do it. You gotta have a
Right,
tennis court in your neighborhood or whatever.
right, and it is crazy because some neighborhoods will have tennis courts and not basketball courts because they don't want to attract the wrong crowd.
Exactly.
You hear me? You hear me? So,
Exactly.
I think it's definitely interesting how those things influence um, where our participation, our economic status, you know, affects it's part of the barrier to entry. It's like if the white man wants to keep the black man out of something, just make it more expensive, make it harder to acquire, and
And then simultaneously disenfranchise the black man, black people by, not allowing them to acquire and create wealth.
right, just like they don't allow them to create their own basketball leagues, their own, um, and I don't know. I mean, as I know we present a lot of issues and we talk about those, but how do we solve these things? What would you see as a solution to that?
Uh, like to what specifically? Like acquiring wealth? Or,
Well, like, let's say sports in general, because that's what we're talking about, right?
oh,
And
uh, that, I mean, I guess the first thing I would think of is having, I mean, it's kind of hard to say because to begin with, you kind of need like a demand for these sports. Um, so I guess as part of like making them more accessible, you could have like government funded programs where it's just government sponsored. So uh, like you have maybe like a gymnastics kind of tumbling area, and some areas that can't uh, like in like these like in these areas where like they have these social um like these, you know what I'm saying, like these rec areas, and they have like uh government funded, gymnastics
yeah,
area, or like tennis courts, uh or whatever, like, just probably just making it more socially funded by the government, and allowing it to allowing them to like pay for it, and then you know from there, uh people who dominate or are successful in them, hopefully they'll be able to attend events and gain recognition and hopefully gain sponsors from that. That's the only way
Yeah.
I see it becoming, because I don't. There's like a whole host of other problems to be able to like lift up the wealth of the black community and then get them into these uh these sports.
So, what do you think about entrepreneurial efforts like the recent activity that Michael Jordan has done, while creating his own NASCAR team, or being someone like Ice Cube, who created the Big Three League? What do you think about people starting up initiatives like that? Does that kind of break the barrier to entry when people with prominent figures are putting their money on the line and empowering other black athletes and black people with aspirations to be in that sports culture?
Uh, I think it's great. But I think it goes along with the same thing I was saying about the government funded programs. Like these entrepreneurs, these black celebrities and athletes, they gotta do it within their own communities. They gotta reinvest into their communities and do it. Because I mean, like you can create whatever kind of league you want, but like if Chet and Bob are the only types of people who have access to it, it's kind of you're not really doing much
Right.
for the black community.
It defeats the purpose. Yeah, I mean, 100%. I feel I love government. I love government assistance to a certain extent because government assistance usually means, hey, we're going to help you, but we're also going to keep you in this position. And
Yeah,
anything
it can be that for sure.
so anything that's subsidized by the government, it's usually a catch 22, right? And I think in the world of athletics, we're really going to heavily rely on athletes with that certain, like when LeBron James opened up that school, things like that, going back into their communities and going to underprivileged communities and really being an inspiration in more than one way. Like, 'cause sports is one thing. We admire these sports figures, but then sometimes admiring these sports figures draw us more into consumerism rather than self empowerment. We go buy the jerseys, we go buy the shoes, we go buy this, we go buy that, tickets to the game, but then we still trying to figure out who we are because we still come from that community that we're looting and rioting and breaking down our communities when there's injustice in our homes. So I just government programs to me are I'm on the fence about them because they don't always serve our communities the way um, you know, we would like them to. And then I think athletes that are in the positions as like LeBron James, the Michael Jordans, um, they have to kind of go back into our communities and invest in them.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I think this is like an interesting conversation, because I feel you on like the government programs, like they don't always have our best interests in mind, but I kind of feel like that's more of a function of like the system. Like I think like in a vacuum they could have our best, or they like there's a world in which they could have our best interests in mind, or um, be uh, more helpful to us, because I think with just like the athletes going back in and reinvesting into their communities and doing all that, I still don't think that would solve like the foundational issue going on.
Yeah.
Um,
Y-
yeah, I mean that's basically what I want to say. Like it's good, but it's kind of like a band aid, or it doesn't solve the core issue that needs to be addressed. I feel.
Yeah, you're right. Because let's go. I mean, just kind of to our earlier discussion about the whole Breonna Taylor case, right? We've seen all this protesting, all these commercials, players boycotting, wearing these, they even got these special jerseys with words on them. But then when you see the verdict, you're like, oh, because it's a foundational systemic racism, a systemic injustice that is always biased towards the latter rather than to the victim. And you start to see that, and then athletes are left like, okay, we did all that, but nothing. Like it didn't serve. Like it didn't change the fact that this system is,
It didn't even tickle anything, bro. Like
bruh.
that that verdict makes me so mad. They had the audacity to say that, oh, we're gonna charge you because your bullets hit some buildings, but even though your bullets hit a black woman, we're just gonna ignore that.
And that,
Like
and it's
that's what I'm saying. That's more of an
is that a
insult. That's more of
right,
an insult than like not charging at all. Because
right?
at this point, you're basically saying, oh yeah, this building's worth more than you. It's valued more than you.
Yeah, it made her seem less significant, and that was definitely a blow. That was definitely like a, oh wow, really? That's where we're going with this? Because it made it seem like her life was in vain.
Hmm.
Just dying like that, like, and for so long they wouldn't even mention her name. They wouldn't mention her case, and like when you hear this verdict, it's disappointing. It makes it seem like everything that people were protesting and putting out there was all in vain.
Yeah, and none of that did anything. If anything, like we just got like this. It's like a metaphorical fu from the system because they're like they said like a building is valued more than her. Like that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of this stuff is performative and doesn't really yield any like, helpful material outcomes that we want.
No, not for our people, um, because as we can tell, justice was once again not served, and even in a case where it should have been, obviously. And you mentioned a building. Like to me, that was like, how is that even relevant? Like I never, like, why is that even relevant? But I think it's almost like adding insult to injury. You know what I mean? So
For sure.
very disappointing. But I think, you know, in our next discussion, we'll be talking about the discourse on colonialism, that title, and kind of diving a little deeper into, the trends of, how black people have always been counted against, or how we've always been treated unfairly. And I
Hmm.
hate using the word fair because nothing's really fair, but at the same time, we can kind of break that down into more. But, it was just that verdict, I think, pissed a lot of people off, including myself. But it's how do we move forward, Like, we have no choice.
Yeah, yeah, that's the one thing we know is to move forward. Um, have you started the discourse on colonialism?
Yeah, I have, but I think next week we can probably do like the first two chapters and just discuss those. It's pretty interesting. It goes back to it talks about not only like being black in America, but it talks about the colonialism, how it started, and even in Africa.
Hmm.
So I think it's a really good read, and it's a short, easy read too. It's not as wordy as the book we read before. Um, Definitely, this one would be good, and I think it would be good for us to continue to do the weekly, the weekly talks and
Okay,
discussions.
sounds good. Sounds
Yeah,
good.
but I definitely have good reviews on the story of Willie T. Man, I think that was definitely. I mean, I haven't been excited about somebody new like that in a while, and I just felt like, man, look at this. I like,
Right.
yo, he needs a motion picture though, like a movie.
Yeah, he deserves that a movie because
What?
yeah, just giving him a Netflix show is not it's not doing him justice.
Yeah, who would play him?
Like younger,
Yeah,
young.
Michael B. Jordan.
Oh man, uh, I can see that. I can see that.
I can see it too, man.
That's
Michael
probably
B.
yeah. That might actually be the best choice actually. I can't think of.
Yeah, man.
Oh, maybe now that I'm thinking about it, he kind of actually looks like what's his name? The dude from Get Out, but he not the main character, but the dude who was in the sunken place, the first guy he saw. I forgot his
Oh, Lakeith Stanfield.
Keith Stanfield. He kind of I see him
Yeah,
a little bit.
yeah. If Lakeith was a little bit, because Lakeith is taller and slim.
That's
This
true.
guy was like shorter and stout. But
That,
nah, you're right. I mean, he's an excellent actor. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
that's like Black History right now. But
right.
yeah, man, I feel like that dude deserved his own motion picture, man. Why y'all playing? But
Facts.
yeah, man, Willie T is one of my new heroes, man. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to add it to the discussion. We're a little bit over an hour now.
Um, Let me think. Not really. Oh, I did want to just point out one thing about like the how when we were talking about like how America they didn't even want him to represent America. That's
Yeah.
it's so funny to me how like because that's something that would help America's pockets. Obviously, putting the best racer in there, like that's something that's contributing to capitalism. But the only thing that can stop capitalism at that point is racism, which is funny to me.
Yeah, that is it's very interesting. Like y'all are willing, y'all all
Like,
about money, but
yeah,
when it comes to
it's
race,
a
oh nah.
principal position at that point. Like,
Yeah.
oh, racism is where we draw the line at making money. Like, that's
And and that's saying a lot because, you know, the dollar speaks to everything in the United States. You
right.
know, like shoot, you don't got health care? All right, man, we're gonna have to go, all right? You just gonna have to go outside and figure this one out type of thing. You know, healthcare system, everything, man. Educational system. You see what they do in the schools.
Hmm.
Like they rather cut the budget of the school than supplement, the education of children coming up. And you see how we have to pay so much money for college and higher level education. It's all about money, but
Right.
race is where they draw the line. Like, wait, what? Oh, you
Yeah.
want us to sponsor this cat? I don't care how much money that brings, but we ain't doing it.
You telling
But
me
then
this
on the
black
other,
man can make you so much money, but you're not going to do it because he's black? Oh wow. Say less.
and and then also remember, this happened in North Carolina. The head guy for the NASCAR races, when he was trying to bring Willie T as an exclusive black driver into one of the races, he said he pulled the plug on it because he's like, nah, man, too many people are gonna be mad because of the racial, and it's like, man,
Hmm.
racism in America, the one thing that's valued more than the dollar is the white race.
It's a core tenet of America. They're like they can't be separated.
And you know what? I don't think it's something that America is willing to fix. I don't think so. I don't feel it because even with this election and everything that's going on, it doesn't seem like the race issue is being addressed. You know what I mean? It do-
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's not going to be.
it's not
Yeah. I mean, it's not.
it's not at the front line of
It's not.
anybody's campaign. Even though they put in, like Kamala Harris and who this I don't know. That's another page. But
Oh yeah, that's another topic we gotta get on.
what?
Dog, don't
But
even
yeah,
get me started on that. Don't get me started.
man, I just think, man, let's just keep continue to have like meaningful conversations, and I think eventually over time people will tap in.
For
Um,
sure. Oh, another thing I wanted to mention about this, for some, I think so. This streaming site, Be Live, they made like
yeah.
updates. So if I want to bring more than two people on, like us, um, I have to like we have to pay money.
Where really?
Yeah, they just did that. So it's like
Oh,
it's $25 a month for that.
okay.
So I'm gonna look
25.
into yeah, I'm gonna look into another streaming platform to use. If not, I don't mind putting in money to do this, but I'm gonna
Yeah, I don't
definitely try.
mind either.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't mind either. As long as we can get more people to join, hear different perspectives.
yeah, because my
Uh,
brother had joined in, but I couldn't let him in because They only allow two people, so
That must be recent, man.
it's definitely recent.
Hey, but you know what? I can't even lie, man. Especially with this stuff going on with the COVID, everything that's streaming, anything like you got to find a way to capitalize on that.
Another yo
I feel like overnight Zoom became one of like the most wealthy investments to make, like one of the smartest investments to make because
man. Next pandemic, I know what I'm investing to.
what? Next pandemic? Look, yo, I don't even want to anticipate another pandemic. Yo, that's crazy.
With
But
the way
hey,
things
man,
going, you can't even roll it
what?
out.
Yo, if Trump get that round two, we bound to have another pandemic.
Third, fourth, fifth wave with him.
Damn. Oh my god. Hey man, I'm not even gonna tell you my prediction though.
You sure you're
Yo,
not gonna
Trump.
tell me?
Trump gonna come through with the last shot like Mike.
I'm
And then
dead.
thought I was done.
he,
Back to back.
he
He
not
finna
even
come
like,
back to back like Magic in the '80s.
this man already saying he's not even gonna give up the seat basically if he loses. You know, like he doesn't even intend on like he's basically saying like I'm not giving it up.
Bro, he's not even gonna let the moving company come to the gates.
Yeah,
You know what I
like
mean? To the White House. They're gonna be like, Mr. Trump, we're here to pick up your stuff. So,
we
nah,
we,
I ain't.
we definitely got to have a whole discussion like centered around like politics or something.
Oh yeah, but I would definitely want to get, like other people from the round table on there because they definitely have a lot of insight. They be,
We
with the projects they're doing with the Constitutional Convention. I
uh-huh.
definitely would love to hear from them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we should definitely talk about it. And then like no no punches held back. Like, say what you mean and mean what you say because
Yeah, open
I
discussion.
think I yeah I think black people we should be exempt from being politically correct at this point.
I already am. I mean, for the most part, I'm watching my mouth right now, but yeah, I already am.
Nah, because all this PC stuff, man, has done nothing but put us in position to be victims. I think we need to be speaking with more assertiveness, with more aggression, to a degree, with intellectual and being more intellectual. Because man, tired of being taken advantage of. You know, we keep turning the cheek. Nah, we
Yeah,
gotta speak what we gotta say what we say, man, and speak it well.
and
You know,
a lot of stuff that we just kind of like be meek and like goes back to Willy T, but a lot of stuff we be meek on it's just like to not anger white people or whatever. Like, nah,
right?
let's not do that.
Nah, bro. Yeah, I'm done with that attitude. So I would definitely like to open a conversation, and maybe we can coordinate that before we even talk about discourse on colonialism.
I'm,
Because
I'm down, man.
yeah, let's see if we can get one together for next week. Because I would like to. I mean, the upcoming election. I just registered to vote in North Carolina a couple of days ago, and it was just so funny. The dude asked me, he's like, sir, what would you like to register as your political party?" And I was just like,
Why are you making that face?
I'm like, man. I was like, man, just put me down as Republican. I'm just kidding.
I'm good.
Nah, but I feel like, that's another funny question. Like, what makes you Republican? What makes you Democrat?
We gotta talk about should we vote in general too? So
Bruh, I'm
whole
conflicted. I'm conflicted. I'm
so
so
whole
conflicted.
discussion. Hey man, let's save that for the next discussion. Let's talk about it with the round table. See who we can bring in because I think that would be a very good discussion to have for sure.
Yeah, yeah. See if we can get Daisha on there, Rachel on there. Um, there's another gentleman on there. I forgot his
I
name.
know who you're
Seed?
talking about. Asim, I think.
Asim, yeah, that'd be good to get those guys to talk about, you know what I mean? Because how important is voting now, right?
Hmm.
but but yeah, man, I will say that for another discussion. I think this is good, man. You know, we'll come up with a new movie soon. We have a list of things to just stay home and watch or read. So we just continue with the Black Quarantine.
All right. Thank you
All
all
right,
for
man.
listening, and
Yeah,
Black Quarantine out.
yeah, we out. Have a good weekend.